Sam Smyers here. Today I want to talk about some mastering EQ tips, and I'll be using the FabFilter Pro-Q3 plugin. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel because that will help you stay updated with future videos that are just like this. If you are really looking for some step-by-step instruction for mixing and looking for the best way to improve your mixing, then check out my Modern Mix Academy. This is a full online course which will guide you step-by-step how to mix and how to improve your mixing to create great, amazing sounding mixes from the comfort of your own home that you can be proud to share with your friends, family, and fans. Check that out. I'll put a link in the video description below for you to join if you're interested. In today's video, I want to go over some ways that I might use an EQ on a master or whenever I am mastering a song. I currently have my song Falling Away loaded up. I have the stereo file. This is going to be the pre-master file. This is before any type of mastering effects are applied to it. And this is the FabFilter Pro-Q3. Let's just play a section of the track here.
I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we need. Falling away, wait for nothing, trying to save us from running. Falling away, wait for nothing, how do we go back to loving? I find it hard to see.
On the Pro-Q3 down here, there's this auto gain button that is turned on, and it says that if auto gain is enabled, Pro-Q automatically compensates for increase or loss of gain after EQing. I'm actually going to turn this off. Sometimes I'll leave that on whenever I am mixing and I'm making some big adjustments to either raise or lower the level of my audio track. But because I'm mastering, I'm only going to be doing subtle adjustments, and I just want to leave that auto gain turned off. As I play this track, let's watch this low end here.
I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we need. Falling away, wait for nothing.
Now we can see that it's already cut off down here around 20 to 30 hertz. If your track has any low end down here that you see with this spectrum analyzer occurring anywhere below 20 hertz, then you could add a low cut like this. And let's go ahead and hit this audition button. And so you could add a low cut like that down there to cut off anything below that 20 hertz because you wouldn't be able to hear that anyway, but it could actually trigger your compressor and reduce the amount of headroom that you are able to get out of your master. So you can add a low cut like that. You can adjust the slope here. Just make sure that it's relatively steep. And then for your bass, usually you want your bass to be in mono. What you could also do is add a low cut to your sides. I could go to my sides here, and that will be a low cut to my sides. Let's go ahead and check out the audition button here. And I would shoot for somewhere around under 200 hertz to make sure that anything under 200 hertz or so is in mono. If it isn't, then you could add this low cut here. As I'm going through the track with this audition button, I don't really hear any bass in the sides because I already did a good job of making sure that it was in mono. So I might just go ahead and leave this off. But you could leave this turned on if you need to put your bass in mono.
I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we need. Falling away, wait for nothing, trying to save.
And I'll just go ahead and turn that off. I actually think this track is pretty bright, and I might want to add some mid-low end to it and then maybe control some of the high-end transients up here. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. I'm going to go to this 6 dB view because when you're mastering, you really want to be subtle with the amount of gain that you are adjusting to your filters. If you go anywhere above or below 3 dB, if I make a filter here and I'm taking this all the way up to 6 dB or something like that, then you might want to consider going back into your mix and making the adjustment in your mix because you are making adjustments to the stereo file, and a very subtle adjustment, say like this, where it's about 2 dB of gain, will actually make a pretty big difference. Let's go ahead and listen to this high end up here. And I think I'm going to add a high shelf here and do a dynamic shelf.
I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we need.
If you didn't understand what I'm doing, then check out another tutorial that I have that explains everything you need to know about how to use the Pro-Q3, and that will explain all of this dynamic EQing I'm doing here. I'm applying a dynamic EQ filter here so that anytime those high frequencies get pretty loud, then it will take them down. Let me turn off these help hints.
I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we need.
And let's go ahead and loop this section where I've got the hi-hats happening.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
And you can find some resonances by looking at these peaks here. There's that one around 9K.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
And I'm going to actually do a filter there. And let's go ahead and invert that and make it dynamic and put this gain back at 0.
Far away with nothing. Back to love.
And that is some really high-end ringing that happens there, mainly whenever that crash hits. And I'm just applying that dynamic EQ there to take that down.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to love?
And then I actually, on this low end, you could add a bit of a bump here whenever you do add a cut like this to get some boost in that low end. And I might do something like that. And then I might add another bell filter here in the low end somewhere. Say around there.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving? Far away with nothing.
Let's go ahead and bypass that and check it out.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
You should probably notice a pretty big difference, even though if I go back to this view here, these adjustments are very subtle. They just look a lot more drastic whenever I zoom in, but if I go back to this 12 dB view, you can see how small these adjustments are, but they actually do change how this track sounds. Let's go back to this 6 dB. For this high-end EQ filter here, I could actually put this into a mid side. Let's say I only want to take down that mid so that I'm still maintaining the high end in the sides.
Far away with nothing. How do we go?
If you ever do need to add a boost to your track, if it's not that bright, you could actually do the opposite. You could do this, but then you could change this filter to something like the sides or do a stereo. Let's do stereo. And then we've got the sides here. And that would be nice if you need to brighten up the sides of the mix, like the percussion or the hi-hats. You could do something like that.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving? Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving? Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
And then I might add another filter there to control some of the frequencies from that vocal. Let's check out some other parts of this track.
Been a while, I needed a banish, didn't take it off for granted, yeah. I find it hard to breathe, thinking we're in too deep. Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving? I find it hard to see, trying to find out what we. Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
And we'll bypass it.
Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving? Far away with nothing. How do we go back to loving?
And so that might be all that I need to do. And you can see how subtle all these adjustments were. I've got a 1.5 dB boost here. This is about 1 dB, and then down here, this is about another dB or so. Whenever you are mastering, you want to be very precise and subtle with the adjustments to your EQ that you're doing. One thing to note about additive and subtractive EQ, adding a boost here is additive, and then taking away is subtractive. Some people say that you should only do subtractive. Some people say that you should only do additive. Basically, either one works. Do what feels right, do what sounds good, and that will give you the best result. Don't worry too much about, oh, this person recommended that I only do additive, and then you start taking away things. Just do what sounds right, but be very subtle. And this Pro-Q3 is really nice because you've got these options for the view, you've got the dynamic options, you've got the mid-side options. There's quite a lot of options that you have when you use this Pro-Q3. There's some other processing options you have too down here. You've got zero latency, natural phase, linear phase. A lot of mastering engineers like to use this linear phase, but FabFilter says that this zero latency actually functions very well, and I'll just leave it at that. You can obviously test which one makes a difference if you can hear a difference, but I'll just leave it on zero latency for now. And so that would really be it that you need to do on your master. Just check this low end here, maybe make some adjustments to the high end. You can check out some of the transients in this high end and do some transient limiting, like adding a dynamic EQ here, maybe a cut or a high shelf where you're lowering some of the frequencies or maybe raising them, and make some adjustments to the mid and side. Check this mid range. Make sure you have enough mid range. In this particular instance, I just wanted some bit more low mids in the track. And so that's why I just made that small adjustment there. Anyway, I hope that was helpful, and I hope that helped you understand better how to apply some EQ to your master whenever you're mastering your songs. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel, because that will help you stay updated with future videos that are just like this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.